the author Mona, must have been high as a kite writing this book. Their sexual preferences are alike. I was just like in my element. The tennis talk was too much. I cannot listen to Maroon 5 the same way ever again. Let me tell you, this book is absolutely insane. For the love of God, don't read this book. So I hope you guys are doing well and are having the most incredible day as always. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are doing well. In today's video we are diving in to my March reading wrap up. Honestly, I have to give myself a little pat on the back. I absolutely smashed March's book read. Honestly, I read 13 books. 3. I am so proud of myself. However, one thing I will say is one of these books is technically one physical book, but it actually contains books 1 to 5. So I'm classing it as 5 books. It looks way better on Goodreads, and to be honest with you, it makes me feel better knowing that I read 13 books. So that is what we're going to be doing. Anyway, I'm going to dive right in. I have such a mixed bag of books. Honestly, I cannot wait to talk you through them. I also filmed a reading vlog on a bunch of these books. So if you guys want to go and see my reactions to a lot of these, you definitely can. Let's dive in. I cannot wait to share with you all the books I read in March, so I hope you guys enjoy and carry on watching. Okay, so the first book I picked up in March was Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Now, if you guys didn't know, I absolutely love Taylor Jenkins Reid. However, I have been putting off this book for so long because for the simple reason I don't really enjoy tennis. Like, don't get me wrong, if you love tennis, you do you. I am so glad that you love it, but for me, I find it so boring. I just cannot get on board with it. I just don't find it at all interesting. Like, don't get me wrong, I used to play it at school, and you know, I would not be very good at it, but it would be enjoyable. But would I sit and watch it on TV? Absolutely not. So this kind of gave me that really boring, being forced to watch it on TV kind of vibe. Like, I loved the writing style and I loved how, like, is immersed the right word? Like, I felt so in this story and I really enjoyed that aspect of it, but the tennis talk was too much. I feel like a lot of people lied to me about this one. A lot of people, when I asked them about it, said to me like, look, the story is obviously based on tennis, but it's not really that tennis-y. There was so much talk about tennis. For pages of this book, it was just tennis talk continuously about how she had to wear certain shoes on like the AstroTurf, or if she would play on grass, the balls would bounce different. Like, I don't care. So I gave this one a 3-star. Don't get me wrong, the actual story was beautiful. It was a really lovely story about a girl who essentially used to be a really good tennis player. She decided to kind of, I don't know, hand in her racket, I guess, and kind of retire, and then all of a sudden another tennis player was about to beat her record and she decided, you know what, I'm coming back, I'm not gonna let that happen, and I want to kind of gain my title again, I suppose. Anyway, all while this is going on, there is a smidgen, and when I say smidgen, I mean like breadcrumb dust of romance in this book. Like, it is very small. I will say there was a cameo from a few other characters mentioned in this book, from a few of her others, which I liked, but overall it just wasn't a vibe. Like, I just didn't love it. I am so excited for her new book to come out. I am going to be buying it. I will definitely read it, but yeah, this one just wasn't for me, unfortunately. So I gave it a 3-star. If you guys like tennis, or you really just want to complete the Taylor Jenkins Reid kind of backlist, I would recommend. I wouldn't say I hated it, I just didn't absolutely love it. I did film a reading vlog actually on this one, so if you guys want to go and give that a watch, you can, but yeah, just not for me, unfortunately. So I gave it a 3-star. The next book I picked up in March was also a book which was featured in a reading vlog, so if you guys want to go and check that out, please do. But that is Pucking Around by Emily Rath. Now, going into this book, I didn't really know too much about it. All I knew is that it was a hockey romance and it was incredibly spicy, but let me tell you, this book is absolutely insane. I mean, don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed my time reading it. I did give it a 4-star, and I found that it wasn't necessarily the plot or the spice. I just really loved the writing style. It was so bingeable and it was just fun. Like, it was a really fun read. Also, it is nearly 700 pages. Like, it is absolutely ginormous, and considering all of that, like, I still really enjoyed my time reading it. So this one is basically about a girl called Rachel who is a knee doctor, and she gets hired by the Jacksonville Rays hockey team to kind of keep an eye on the players and just keep an eye on their knees, etc., and just make sure that they're all okay, basically what a doctor does. And she basically ends up meeting a guy called Jake, who she actually met previously, had a one night stand with, and could not stop thinking about him since. He felt exactly the same way, and it was kind of like a, oh my god, I've just realised like you are the person I met a few months ago, and it kind of stems from there. However, on the back of the book it does say, I can't fall for a player, let alone three. So this is a 3-boy, 1-girl romance. I just really enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong, the spice was incredibly spicy. If you don't like spice, then I probably wouldn't read these books because it is incredibly spicy, like 10 chilies spicy. It was so good though. Again, I just found myself like flying through the pages. I wasn't really even thinking about the page count. Like I just found myself binging through it. And again, if you guys want to see a few more of my kind of like raw reactions and stuff, go and check out the vlog. This one was a 4-star read. It was absolutely fantastic, and I'm not going to tell you too much more about it because I'd love for you guys to read it and I'd love to know your opinions. So that was the second book I picked up in March. The next book I picked up in March again was also for that same reading vlog, so please make sure you go and check it out. But this is the book which technically is 5 books in one, so I did class it as 5 books on my Goodreads. Don't judge. But you girls got to keep up with the Goodreads goal. Anyway, the next book I picked up was the Mindfuck series by St. Abbey. When I tell you, this book was absolutely incredible. I just cannot stop thinking about it. Like, Lana Myers is a hero. I absolutely love her. Like, this book was so good. Don't get me wrong. It's very dark in places. It's got spice. It's a little bit gory, but it is so good. It is so bingeable, and I just could not put it down. So basically, this book is about Lana Myers, who goes through a very tragic and traumatic childhood experience with her brother, and it is honestly, it was the hardest thing I've read in a while. I'm not gonna lie. Like, reading about it, it made me feel really emotional, and I don't know whether it was just because I was so attached to Lana Myers at that time. Like, I just felt so heartbroken when I was reading it. Anyway, she goes through that experience and she decides, do you know what? I'm not gonna let any of these people get away with it. So what does she do? She turns into a serial killer and starts knocking them off one by one, starting from the bottom and kind of working her way through them all. However, while she's doing this, she meets an incredible guy. I think his name was Jake. I can't actually remember. I feel like it was Jake. Was that his name? Logan. I don't know who Jake is. Anyway, she basically meets Logan in a coffee shop and he pays for her food, and then they kind of hit it off, and it turns out that Logan is an FBI agent who is looking into the murders that she is committing. It is so wild, but so good. I don't want to tell you guys too much more about it because it's just so incredible. Like, going into this blind, it was just phenomenal, and I know that there is a new cover of this one now, and I am low-key tempted to buy it just because of how much I love this book. Like, this book is so good. I just thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't think I've ever read a, how many pages is this? Nearly 700-page book so quickly in my entire life. Like, I typically sit down in the evenings to read, and I probably don't get through like 100 pages every night, if I'm being honest. However, when I was reading this, I was looking at a book thinking, oh, there's 177 pages left. I binged it in one sitting. Like, it was so bingeable. It was absolutely phenomenal. If you guys can't tell, this was a 5-star read, and if you guys don't have any triggers or you want to check the trigger warnings and read this book, I cannot recommend it enough. It was so good, and yeah, I just absolutely devoured it. I have never read a book so quickly in my life, and I would definitely reread it. It was so intense and funny, and just the banter was so good. The spice was great, but it wasn't like overbearing. Like, it was just perfect. It was so good. So yeah, this was a 5-star read, and I cannot recommend it enough. I feel like I need coffee break for talking too long. Honestly, filming videos is thirsty work. So the next book I picked up, again, was featured in that reading vlog. So if you guys haven't watched it, please go and watch it after this video. But the next book I picked up in that video was Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. I know the fact that I haven't read this series is pretty much criminal at this point. I don't know what it is. I own the entire series. Like, I have the whole series, and I don't know what it was. I think it was probably the sheer size. Like, this is a, how many page? Nearly 800 page book, which honestly, I would look at it and I would pick it up and I would think, oh, I should read this soon, and the size of it would really put me off, and it would go back on my shelf and I just wouldn't even think about it again. But guys, when I tell you, this book, my emotion, I cannot listen to Maroon 5 the same way ever again. This book was so heartbreaking but so incredible at the same time. I don't even know how to describe it other than my emotions heightened, and I feel like this was my heart. My heart broke into a million pieces reading this book. It was just so emotional, but I just felt so attached to all the characters. I felt so like possessive of their well-being. Like, I want them all to be okay. I feel very protective. Protective is the right word, not possessive. Anyway, this was incredible. This was another 5-star read for me, and I can honestly see the entire series just being a whole 5-star series for me. Like, I absolutely loved not only the writing, I loved the characters, I loved the plot line. It was just perfect. Yeah, I don't even know how to really describe this apart from this is about a guy called Johnny who basically plays rugby in an Irish school, tongue twister, and Shannon. Now, Shannon is basically a girl who has been bullied her entire life, and she goes to this new school and she makes some friends, one of them being Johnny, and it's basically how you kind of go back and forth from both POVs. You know that both of them have feelings for each other, but it's a very like awkward and like cute kind of romance. Like, it's a very slow burn. It's almost like, oh, did he mean to touch my hand kind of vibe, you know? It's just so wholesome and good, and I absolutely loved it. I cannot tell you anything more about the book, honestly, without giving it away, because it was that good. Like, it was emotional, but it was so good. So again, this was another 5-star read, and I highly recommend it. If you have this on your TBR shelf, please pick this one up. And I think I also have this one on Kindle, and I think it was only like 99p, so highly recommend. Obviously, I didn't want to damage the spine. Incredible read, absolutely devoured it, and I cannot recommend it enough. So yeah, that was a 5-star read for me. Okay, so the next book I picked up again was featured in that reading vlog. This is the last one in that reading vlog. So basically it was a 4-book reading vlog, which, guys, if you haven't watched it and you need something cozy, it is an hour long, so please go and give it a watch. Anyway, this was the last book I read in that video, and when I tell you, I think I have a new obsession. Like, this book, I didn't realise how much I was gonna love it. Like, don't get me wrong, I absolutely am a fiend for a dark romance. Like, I love anything taboo, dark, almost slightly scary. Like, I absolutely love it. And guys, this book was phenomenal. I want to reread it. I want to buy the new covers. I want every single book by H.D. Carlton, like, immediately. This was so good. Now, what I will say about this book is, obviously, please read the trigger warnings, because it is insane. It is intense. It is not a closed door by any means. Some of it almost feels a little bit non-consensual, but if you read it and you kind of get the POVs from both people, like, you know that both parties do want it to happen, but it's almost on the cusp, if you know what I mean. Like, it is very on the cusp of being non-consensual. So if you don't like reading about any of those sorts of things, please, for the love of God, don't read this book. But honestly, I loved it. 5 stars, instantly 5 stars. I knew probably within the first like few chapters that I was gonna love it, and about halfway through, instantly a 5-star. Like, I didn't even need to finish the book to know that it was gonna be a 5-star read for me, because it was phenomenal. Now, what I will say is this ends on an intense cliffhanger. Like, I need to read book 2 immediately, and it was just incredible. The only way I can describe this book is it's basically about a girl who lives in her nan's house. Her nan has passed away, and she basically gave her this like giant manor, and she's realizing that somebody is watching her out the window, and it's becoming kind of, I don't know how to describe it. Like, he knows that she can see him, and like they both kind of have that understanding. And it also turns out that her nan also had a stalker. No, her nan's mum, sorry, also had a stalker, and it's like a murder mystery slash stalker romance slash mafia kind of situation. There is so much going on in this book that it was never boring. Every page I was just flicking through it. I could not put it down. It was incredible. It was so good. Obviously, this is part of a duet, so we've got Haunting and Hunting Adeline, and I cannot wait to pick up Hunting Adeline. I am so excited. Honestly, again, if you guys want to see a few more clips of like my thoughts and feelings about this book, please watch that vlog. But all I can tell you is this was absolutely insane. Like, I just couldn't believe what I was reading half the time. Like, there was so much going on, and I don't know who to trust. That's all I'm going to tell you. So yeah, a 5-star read from me. If you love a dark romance, if you love anything like that, insane. Okay, so the next book I read in March honestly was the worst book I've read all month. I absolutely I didn't really understand what I was reading. Half the time I had no idea what was going on and I just didn't understand it. And I think, to be honest, it could just be me and this author. We might just not mesh well, because I have read one other book by this author in the past, and again, I think I gave it a 1 star. Like, I really didn't like it. This book is Rouge by Mona Awad. I gave this one a 1 star. Now, I don't know whether it's just me. It probably is. Like, this is probably a literary masterpiece. Is that what I'm trying to say? Anyway, you guys know what I mean. This is probably absolute gold. However, it was the weirdest thing I've ever read. Like, I felt like the person, Mona, the author Mona, must have been high as a kite writing this book, because while I was reading it, I was just thinking, like, what is happening? Like, what is going on? The only way I can describe this book is it's about a girl, and she essentially goes to her mum's massive house because her mum recently passed away. She finds these like ruby red shoes, so it's giving like Wizard of Oz meets Alice in Wonderland, which is so bizarre. She puts on these shoes and automatically she's just walking. Like, she's walking somewhere, she doesn't know where she's going, and she almost can't stop walking, and she gets there and it is this weird, the only way I can describe it is a sorority house full of like really weird people. There's jellyfish in a giant tank and it is just so weird. Like, I couldn't tell what was a dream and what was reality, and then she almost goes a bit crazy. It's just so strange, like so strange. So I gave it a 1 star simply because I personally just I couldn't envision any of it. Like, I was reading a page, and you know, sometimes in a book you read a page and you think, like, what have I just read? Like, I need to reread it. That's how I felt about the whole book. I could not understand anything that was going on. And again, this is no hate towards the author. It is no hate towards the book, because I can guarantee that some of you have read this book and you probably really enjoyed it, but it just wasn't for me. I'm just not that inclined, like that way inclined to really understand a book like that, because it was crazy. I mean, it's probably how people thought maybe reading Alice in Wonderland for the first time. Like, I can't visualize any of it. So this one was a 1 star read. I will keep the book because it is a signed edition, which is nice. I just didn't love it, which was a shame. So that was the next book I read. The next book I picked up in March was one of my most anticipated releases of 2025, and that is Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. Now, I really do enjoy Ali Hazelwood's writing. However, this one, it just didn't hit for me. Like, I really thought I was going to be obsessed with this. It took me ages to read. Like, it took me so long that I ended up just downloading the audiobook because I just could not get through it. I was struggling. Like, I was reading it thinking, like, I don't care. Like, I just don't care for it. I don't know what it was, because I love swimming. So I was thinking, like, it's a swimming romance. Love that. I love a romance. Like, what is there not to like about this book? And I'll tell you what it is. Every single thing that happened between the two main characters, for some reason, her best friend was just always there. Like, you know that TikTok that goes, it's me and you and us and your friend Steve? It was like that. Like, she was just there. It was just annoying. Like, every time they would like start talking, they'd be like, what about Pen? Like, what was, you know what I mean? Like, we need to think about her. Like, she's moved on, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe this book, to be honest with you. Basically, you've got Scarlett and you've got Lucas, and basically Lucas is going out with Pen for like 10 years or something, since they were like 14. Essentially, she breaks up with him, and it's a very kind of good breakup. Like, they're both very good about it, and then Lucas and Scarlett start kind of like hanging out, having this like instant like connection, because they're both into very, I don't know how to describe it. Their sexual preferences are alike. That is how I would describe it. So basically, even Pen says, you should sleep together because, you know, what you want, she wants, and that kind of thing. So like, she basically puts it in their head that they can sleep together. So anyway, they end up sleeping together. Spoiler alert. They end up sleeping together. All the while, it's just constantly like, oh, what about Pen? Like, we should really consider her feeling. Like, she told them to. Anyway. It's probably a very nice thing to do for your friends, but for some reason, every single time they had a moment, like, she was just always there. And it really annoyed me, and I feel like it was just too much. Like, it was too much about that. So this one I gave a 3-star. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely love Ali Hazelwood. I'm actually meeting her in like 2 weeks, which is insane, and I will be taking all my books to get signed. But I do love Ali Hazelwood, don't get me wrong, but this one just didn't hit as much as I thought it would. I really thought I was going to enjoy it. This one was her first, I believe, like adult spicy kind of romance. Don't get me wrong, the spice was spicing, it was great. I mean, it wasn't like Haunting Adeline spicy or anything, but it was in there. I just didn't love it. It wasn't my fave. So yeah, for that reason, a 3-star. I would recommend, if you love Ali Hazelwood and you want to give it a go, I would highly recommend. Yeah, just wasn't my fave. Anyway, rambling on, let's move on. And the last 2 books were both by Chloe Liese. The first one is Only When It's Us. This one I really did enjoy. I gave this one a 3-star, and again, for me, a 3-star isn't a bad rating. It's more of a, I really enjoyed this whilst I was listening to it, but would I listen to it again or read it again? Probably not. Like, that's how I feel. So I listened to this one on audiobook whilst I was painting, and I was just like in my element. Like, it was a really good audiobook. It was so good, and I just think it was a really cute read. Again, it's nothing to write home about. Like, I probably wouldn't pick this up again, and I probably wouldn't recommend it like instantly. It wouldn't come into my head if I was going to recommend a romance, but it was really cute. It was really sweet. I really do like Chloe Liese's writing. She focuses a lot on a few different, I don't really know how to describe it, like learning difficulties and things like that. So for example, like Ryder is deaf and Willa basically plays football, and it's basically how they get put together in a project, and initially they don't really like each other, but obviously there is a lot of attraction between the 2 characters, and they both end up really liking each other's company. It is just a really sweet book. There's not really much more that I can tell you about this book. It is very found family. It's a very big series. I think there's 7 books in the series. I think he has 7 brothers, so I think it's going to follow on obviously from each brother. But yeah, it was a really good book. It was really sweet, and if you're just looking for something that has the spice but also is just really cute, this is a good one to go for. And the last book I picked up in March again is by Chloe Liese, and this is Always Only You. So this is obviously part of the same series, and this one is about Frankie and Ren. I didn't love this one as much as the first one, I'm not gonna lie. I gave this one a 2-star. Now, it's not because I didn't enjoy the characters. I just found that with this one I was like swooning, I was giggling, like I was really into it. But this one I was just kind of listening to it to pass the time, and I wasn't really immersed in the story as much. So Frankie basically suffers from arthritis. She also has autism and things like that. So she has a lot of like things going on with her personal life. And then you've got Ren, who actually is a brother to Ryder in the first one. And they kind of, I don't want to say hit it off immediately. She works for the hockey team, I'm pretty sure. And it was just a very cutesy like romance. Like, he was very loving towards her. He was very attentive, and it was just really cute. But I wouldn't say this one was better than the first one. I wouldn't say it was awful. I don't really know why I gave it a 2-star. I think I just wasn't as into this one as the other one. And again, if you are reading the series, obviously I would definitely pick up the second one just so you guys get a bit more of the story, because the third one I imagine will kind of mention these characters. But yeah, it wasn't my fave, so I gave this one a 2-star, and yeah, I'm kind of like happy I read it, but I probably won't read it again. So that is that. So that is everything for today's video. I really hope you guys did enjoy, and as always, I would absolutely love for you guys to let me know down below, what books did you read in March, one book that you loved and one book that you would recommend to me. I would absolutely love to know. Also, if you guys haven't yet subscribed, I would absolutely love for you to do so. We have a great time over here on this channel, and we are currently on our way to 12.3 thousand of you. Insane. Honestly, I love every single one of you, and I am so thankful for every single one of you. So if you guys are watching this and you haven't yet subscribed, please do. I love you guys so incredibly much. You will never truly understand, and I will see you in my next one. Bye guys.